Welcome back to the #1 television show in the history of the universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing High Deryni by Katherine Kurtz. This is book number 3 in her King Kelson. Let's see, it's the Chronicles of the Deryni. Book number 3, I've since previously reviewed book number 1, Deryni Rising. If you want to watch that video, just type in Deryni Rising and my last name and it'll show up. And then I've also reviewed Deryni Checkmate, and now we're to book number 3, High Deryni. I'm basically because, the other day I did my Katherine Kurtz book collection video. I thought I should go ahead and read a book of hers and review it, and so there we go. So let's talk about the covers first. This came out in 1973. All this trilogy came out in the early 70s. So Katherine Kurtz is one of the old sort of pioneers of fantasy. You know, back in the early 70s, there wasn't much fantasy to read, and she was one of the very few that was out there. And this Deryni series was much beloved back in the day. Let's talk about the covers first. So this has got a cover done by the great Darrell K. Sweet, one of his early covers that he did. Darrell K. Sweet did all of the original Robert Jordan Wheel of Time covers, which we've got here. But I like this cover because it matches the first 3 in the series. They all look like they go together. I like that the spines all match. And the back of them has like really cool artwork going for it too. So that is the and then we've got the other Katherine Kurtz novels over here too, but we'll eventually read and review all of those. I do love the scroll work that's going along. I like the extra little flares they used to put on these older books in the 80s and stuff. Well, the 70s really. Anyway, and I got I've met Katherine Kurtz. Quite a few of my books are signed by her. But I've talked about that in previous videos. Katherine Kurtz, she's a cool lady. So anyway, young King Kelson, now after books 1 and 2, he's now sits the throne of Gwynedd. But the priesthood of the 11 kingdoms feels threatened by his reign because Kelson is half Deryni, and that's the Deryni are a race of humans gifted with extrasensory magic and powers. There's little portals that they can travel through in this universe. They're healers. They just do magic, like little kind of. It's not like full blown magic like you'd see in a Brandon Sanderson. It's more of like a pagan like witchcraftery type of tarot card reading sort of magic with a little bit of supernatural stuff in it and a little bit of healing powers and a little bit of force from the Star Wars, I guess. Anyway, so the church, it's a power struggle between the Deryni and the half Deryni, and because the Deryni used to rule in this universe. They used to rule, and then now they don't rule because the church considers them to be heretics. They consider the people with the powers of the Deryni to be witchcraft users, heretics, heresy. There's a big power struggle. I will want to read the opening paragraph just because it's so well done. I've always told, writing advice portion of the video here, I've always told everybody that wants to write epic fantasy, they need to read Katherine Kurtz and how she does it, because she just uses, all of her word choices are just perfect for epic fantasy. They give a medieval flavor and a medieval flair to everything that's in here. So I just wanted to read the first paragraph so you can kind of know what I'm talking about. So she starts each one of her chapters with a quote from the Bible. The religion, the priesthood of 11 kingdoms in this world that she's built. By the way, her world building is impeccable also. But the world that she's built is they read the actual King James version of the Bible, and every chapter starts with a quote from our King James Bible. So the quote is, "Abroad the sword bereaveth, at home there is death." Lamentations 1, verse 20. Okay. The name they had given the boy was Royston Richardson, after his father. And the dagger he clutched so fearfully in the deepening twilight was not his own. Around him in the fields of Genevale, the bodies of the dead lay stiffening among the rows of newly ripening grain. Night birds hooted in the deathly silence, and wolves yipped in the hills away and to the north. Far across the fields, torches were being lit in the streets of the town, beckoning the living toward what slim comfort numbers might afford. Too many dead of either side lay cold at Genevale tonight. The battle had been brutal and bloody, even by peasant standards. I just think that's a poetic opening. You know, it paints a picture of this battle and the peasants and how grim their life is, and this battle has even just made it grimmer, and how this young boy with his dagger and everything, and the wolves howling in the night and things like that. It's just great atmospheric writing. Wonderful, wonderful medieval. If you want to feel like you're in the middle of medieval Wales or England or Scotland, and just immersed in a Welsh flavored fantasy, just get these books and read them. I mean, we've got our King Kelson, is bloody and medieval, and King Kelson is in this power struggle with the church, and he's got his mainstay friends, Morgan and Duncan and Alaric and Derry, who were in the previous books, and they're just fighting this fight to maintain control, a somewhat sane control over this landscape, that they know if the church takes it over, then things are going to get even worse for the peasants, the serfs, anybody that lives in this world that Katherine Kurtz has created. The Deryni are actually kind of the heroes of the story. The church is sort of the villainous people, and it's caused a lot of wars. This would have been the Game of Thrones of the early 70s. I mean, it's got that kind of political intrigue, that kind of atmosphere, that kind of grim setting, sort of everybody eking a living out of the muck and the mud, and people just trying to maintain some sort of civil happiness in a sort of a bleak world. It's really good, really, really good. And it gets overlooked. Back in the day, it was really, these books were really popular in the 70s and early 80s. And when I first started reading fantasy in the 80s, these books were kind of tailing off in their popularity, but I caught the wave right at the end, and I'm so glad I did, because absolutely wonderful. You know, I give this a 9.5 out of 10.